Greetings. Peace. Oh my God. How y'all doing out there? Nah. Anywho, you ever thought to yourself, like, sometimes you wonder how did I even get here? You know what I mean? Like, just deeply reflecting on my experiences. And I'd be like, how the pluck did I even get here? You ever thought about, like, the things you have experienced and endured? One thing I was deeply reflecting on today had a lot to do with a lot of physical abuse that just wasn't at the hands of, like, it was the hands of multiple people. And, you're expressing to someone who has no type of knowledge or no type of upbringing. And, I used to question the fact of, like, can people really relate to not just my pain or my experiences? Like, can they find what I'm saying even relatable? Do they care? And it's not that I'm looking for people to care. Before I get ahead, let me first give an honor to source, give an honor to ancestors known and unknown. But yeah, a lot of anger and rage came up around an important person at that time that played a vital role in my development as a father, as a man. And a lot of rage came up around some bird dookie right here, but I don't care because I want to sit my arm. It's dry, so anyway. A lot of things came up around, a lot of rage came up around when someone was saying, like, I couldn't imagine being beaten or physically, like, abused. And it really just, one thing about this journey, this healing journey, just self-awareness around it all, it has a lot to do with me now realizing, like, now seeing that I'm in the driver's seat. It's like now being in the driver's seat of my life, being in the driver's seat for once, when as a child or in certain environments where these things were not were an option. When you're younger, when you feel like your innocence is ripped away, or you saw a lot of people who wasn't really being honest with themselves. And as these foundations, like, crumbled, and you realize, like, why these people were removed, why now, how important my relationship with myself and learning my self-worth and seeing where my value lied, and seeing how a lot of these relationships enabled a lot of dysfunctionality or distortion. So, it's one of the most challenging things that I've been getting through has a lot to do with me parting ways with the family that I grew up with. And it's not just, there's so many things rooted in the distortion. But one thing that really stuck out to me had a lot to do with how we justify as a people, especially like those of you that grew up in melanated community, and this can be in all cultures and creeds, but how we justified physical abuse. And for me, I don't know where it come from, the truth. For me, it's really a tough topic to discuss because I was expressing to someone how, like, the courage it even just took for me to get here, the masterpiece that I just completed. And right now I'm like out and I took a walk, and the masterpiece that I completed, you know, symbolizes how I've got to where I am to be able to create from that space, from that internal space of feeling safe again, secure, and worthy of creating. And the place where I'm at now, this, I don't know if you want to call it a lake or a pond or whatever, but I've never saw lotus flowers before until today. And they were white, but they were just so beautiful because those of you who don't know, and you can research lotus flowers, how they're just come from the murkiest of waters, not all, but come from the dirt. And literally, I was able to see the stem from the lotus because it comes up from the depths of the water out of the mud, and the stems are huge. And they have the lily pads and so forth. And it was just miraculous to see how something so beautiful can be formed from the dirtiest, the murkiest of places. And I was just like, wow, I start to just connect it to my life. And this is why I'm here. This is why I discuss these things, because I still go through moments of how memories can replay. And my only healthy, not one of my healthy options have been through my artistry. And that has been my go-to for a lot of things, to where I've tried to like doing my best to navigate my life and navigate my experiences. And you know well um, memories coming up today, having this discussion with someone about really acknowledging where I am currently, how I've gotten here, and just the fact of like the sanity, trying to regain a sense of awareness, trying to regain a sense of peace, to be able to create through the chaos, the madness. And me seeing, literally coming from seeing those petals, coming from seeing though that lotus, I was just like, I was in immediate gratitude, because I told myself, I'm like, wow, this is where I am now, and the deep acceptance of it, to see myself blossom. I feel like we don't give ourselves credit or gratitude enough to even see how we have gotten to a place, and then the consistency of that. Not only the consistency, what people don't see is like the consistency and the self-discipline on where there are moments where I knew hurt people, but I choose not to be the person that was hurting to hurt other people. Now, where there are times where, like I said, it's not about me trying to be perfect. It had a lot to do with me realizing, coming to the self-awareness, like, I need not to try to be like other people. I need to change this narrative. I need to rewrite this story. And that's where the healing journey is so challenging. It can be, because you're trying to, here I am trying to rewrite a narrative. And at a point in time, I believed so solely that my life wasn't going to amount to anything. That where was that to gain from these painful, traumatic experiences? And even more moments where I initiated, whether I knew, even not having the knowledge at that time, how to navigate my emotions, or how to really learn what self-discipline is, or having some type of self-control. So now, going back to the memories that came up, I remember, like I said, the grandfather that my grandmother was with at the time, because I stayed with her. A lot of us, her grandchildren. And I just remember memories in an apartment, where sometimes the houses or apartments we were at, there would be like three of us to one room. And now that I reflect on a lot of these things, these foundations had nothing of substance when it came to people really being honest with themselves. And it's not that they had to verbally come out and lie to you or lie to someone. It was this internal battle where they knew that how they would show up externally to the world or on their position or in their career or whatever they were doing, it would be completely different in the home environment. So, I remember vividly of memories of my whoopings, where the memory of the grandfather at the time who was playing a father figure role in my life at that moment. And I remember, I think I want to say it was middle school, but I remember like getting something to where I was getting a whooping. And those of you that don't know whooping, because I could have viewers from different parts of the world, a whooping is like what they call a spanking. Some may call it like, some may call it discipline. But in reality, to me, now that I've become more self-aware, it is a form of abuse because you're stripping a child or someone of their free will to not only speak, but to, really operate, that's a big and operate their free will or sovereignty or express themselves. But I knew I was getting whooped or something, and I uttered the words of like, at that time, I uttered the words sitting there pouting like I'm gonna call the police like that, because as a child, I knew nowhere else to get safety, or I didn't feel safe. So, in the child mind, I felt like the only safety I could get because there was no one else that could save me from that circumstance, from that seemed like punishment. And why did I say that? That man at the time, okay, being bigger and I'm smaller, was rageful. You gonna do what? And I just remember getting whooped and spanked for like being drugged, picked up, hit like repeatedly with a belt and hands for like probably 20-30 minutes straight. And I was telling this person like, your upbringing wasn't the same, and it's not to compare, but for me to have these memories of how much I have been like in a childhood of like being physically abused, and so physically abused, but just the fact of like, we're not talking about one or two spankings. We're not talking about whoopings that like, I'm talking about like, oh, just once every week or something like that. You're talking about years. I don't think people get it. Like, you're talking about years of things that people have carried, or years of being physically abused or being whooped by different people. Because this was a thing in not all communities, but in a lot of our homes where we call what we call discipline. And some people will fight tooth and nail over the fact of like, had you not got this and this and that, but that's the mental disorder and all that. That's the mental illness in that. Because here we are, people not being honest with, themselves, and we, as a child, I naturally saw people embrace their anger, naturally saw it. And then this foundation that they built, not being honest with themselves internally, when you're trying to build a relationship gradually as you grow and get into the world, you begin to build foundations upon these same behavior patterns. Taking on these narratives of not being honest, building foundations in relationships upon dishonesty, upon like building things upon like what you've seen, what you've soaked in. And so, that really came up to me to where I was like, I was getting teary-eyed, because it's not just the pain behind it. The pain also enables, like, it's something that unlocks within you. It enables the rage and anger. And now where I'm at now, the awareness around it, I know how to put put that energy or redirect that energy or counter that energy into something like going for a walk, working out, putting that energy into something sufficient, or, alchemizing it to where I don't have to harm. Because even though I was hurt or experienced that pain, this is the thing that is not discussed. Those memories surface. And you can be in a relationship, you can be in a partnership, and these are things that, you know, we have not societally only been taught to keep down, but to push aside, to cast it all aside and not talk to no one about it. Because if we did, then guess what? There would be more whoopings behind it as a child. Even mentioning the fact of calling the police young, where I felt that was, to get this man or get this person away from me, because I knew as a child that I deserved better treatment. I knew young that I deserved to be treated with respect, with honor, with love. I knew young that I needed to be embraced. And so it's it it has been very challenging, or very very challenging through this process of even, you know, day to day navigating through this life, through through just day to day. I was telling someone, like, just to get up daily and to try to find a peace of mind. Just to get up and simply try to get through the day with a sense of, like, not allowing these memories to, really consume, like, the outlook of my life, the outlook of my day. And this is where I feel like a lot of the mental illness, where a lot of people who don't have the courage or don't have the support or help around them. When I look at the foundations where these people, they orchestrated a way of really projecting onto us as children that to keep things hidden, to keep things secret, to protect, the peace of your mom, your dad, your grandmother, and so forth. A lot of things that keep people in the dark, keep children in the dark. And then here it is, now you got people 20, 30, 40 years later, you got people years later now finally confessing about a thing that at one point in time they were afraid to, or because they were afraid of the repercussions, they were afraid of the consequences. And that can stem from mental abuse, physical abuse, emotional, and so forth. And the reason I love speaking about this is because I know the effects it has had on me, how it affected others that, I encountered, and then how it will affect others after, kids and so forth, that are afraid to speak up, adults that are afraid to speak up, people that are looking, seeking, searching for that safe place to actually, talk about their emotions or their feelings, about their traumas, their pains, because their career, their status, or their career, their status, whomever they are, wherever they're currently at, doesn't allow that um that opportunity, or their job or their career, their status, or everything will be, up for would be jeopardized, or up for, who knows. It can all be thrown away just by simply honoring your truth and honoring, your truth. Because in the process of that, I had to realize, like, how much I could not lie to myself anymore. I grew up around people who I realized, like, that was the most challenging thing, is to see people really, whether they verbally said things that I knew wasn't true, but it was just the fact of how they lived through so much for years without truly being honest with themselves about how they feel, about why they live the way they live, about, why their life is and turned out the way it is, and so forth. There's a sister, I think it's Love Dorsey, that talked about something similar like this, about how dangerous liars can be. And the dangerous ones is like, you lying to yourself. It internally that you've been holding and keeping in, and you just been keep it within yourself, but like not really being honest about how you feel about the situation, how what you've been keeping in for so long, that repressed emotion. And again, we learn these foundations from who? How long are we going to keep lying or be dishonest with ourselves and then question why certain foundations with people didn't withstand the test of time? I look back now and I realize, like, had I not wanted to evolve or heal or face certain things, I would have been fooling myself. And I would have been telling myself, oh, I'm prospering. How? How? If the foundation internally is not built upon authenticity. If the foundations, I realize that, if it happens inwardly, then it reflects outwardly. So why am I surprised that certain people aren't here, aren't in my presence, and so forth? And I used to question the fact of, through my own selfish attachments, that I needed them, through codependency, that I got to have them, whether that be a mother, a father, and so forth. Because solely deep down what it was is that I knew I couldn't lie to myself to believe, like, not so much this person has changed, but they have kept this mask on for so long. They have internalized their emotions. They have internalized so many things to where, am I going to keep acting like I don't see this, feel this, sense this? And, and then the opportunity's right there to remove myself. A door is always there to be open. That's why I always encourage people to speak your truth. Everyone else has their truth, but your truth, your authenticity. Because, that's been, I was that one that when I knew something was wrong or just isn't in alignment with my core values, like I knew to the depths when I was younger that I had more compassion than other people. I became very aware how karmic the family was, or certain things, to where I could not just ignore the fact of, like, this doesn't reflect who I am. And then it allowed me now being in the driver's seat, to really be aware, like, to take full control, responsibility of my actions, my life, the people who I allow in, the people who I allow to, you know, having that spirit of discernment to recognize what it is I need to let go of, what is really watering me. And so that brought up a lot of things when I reflect on these certain foundations with people, these relationships, because they've all have, a lot of them have internalized so much to where they haven't been honest, and they kept this narrative going for so long to where it's you that got to come to the self-realization, like, this may be painful, I may have to grieve this, even the foundation that I, even the home, the environments, all of that, I gotta let this go. Because if I'm going to build upon something or expand upon something, I now realize, like, man, I was walking, I told myself, I'm like, you have the opportunity now to build something upon authenticity. And that first starts with you. You have now, once these things come in, this clarity and this self-realization, I have the opportunity now to build upon relationships. Now starting with myself first and others. Build healthy partnerships, friendships, businesships, so forth. But there's a process through all of that. I had to learn the unhealthy patterns of others and myself that I continued. I had to see that what I thought was true was not true at all. That's a very painful experience. That I sit here when I realized I couldn't lie to myself, it's like, oh my gosh. It's a light bulb, but at the same time, it's like a slap in the face to realize, like, whoa, reality check. It is not all what you thought it was. And so just voicing my, expressing these things is that, again, my foundations were, when I say people wasn't being honest with themselves, these are the people that saying, hush, shut up, this and that, or else you get a whooping, or else this, or all these things, to where that being shunned, that being silenced, now encouraged me even more to speak up about what I've experienced, to even share more of my message through my artistry, through my creations, and so forth. Because those things that I experienced in those dark moments allowed me to be illuminated, to illuminate the things that I did not want to see, that I wanted to hate about myself. Because again, I was around and surrounded by people who hated themselves. They really did not want to change or evolve. To them, that was their all be all with the circumstances that they lived. And then, not to mention, take no accountability for where they were. No accountability. And that just rippled effect to the kids, to the adults, from the adults to the kids, and so forth. Until someone had to decide to change it. And I had to really sit there and be like, yo, my foundations were not watered. My foundations wasn't built upon truth. The foundation with my mother wasn't not created upon honesty. The foundation with my father as well. Well, that part of my mother affected the foundation with my father. Then when you look at the different aspects of the family dynamic, it's like you're seeing people repress and been lying to themselves, been so dishonest with themselves, and then turn right back around and trauma bond with the same people and still create these karmic loops and these foundations upon dishonesty. And we sit back, and I sit back, and once I start to distance myself and really, that helps me really focus on my healing, I start to realize, like, why am I surprised that this shit is crumbling? Why am I surprised at all that all of this is falling apart? I'm not at all surprised, because it was me, it was you who needed to see that, to observe it, to now, with a clean slate, sometimes with nothing in hand, sometimes with, no money, all of that stuff, to see if you have the faith to really build upon something. As a wise man once said, like, authenticity cannot be threatened. If what they had was so sustainable, even though they were lying to themselves, then why is it crumbling? Why are they being faced with the very hardship that they projected out so easily? Why is it that these people are now being faced with the same shadows and demons or whatever it is that they wanted to remind other people about, or constantly judge other people about, instead of fighting their own internal battle? So for me, I was just like, whoa, like, that's really tough, because you're at a certain age now, some of us late 20s or 30s, you're like, yo, when I look at this country foundation, when I look at a lot of things, I'm like, it's funny, but at the same time, you want to have humor in it. But it's like, yo, gosh, sometimes you got to learn to laugh through it, to be lighthearted in it. If not, it'll consume you. It's like a balance. And then one of the most part is, like, for me, my where I'm at on my journey, it's like relationships are very vital for me right now. It's not the same for everybody. I like to talk about, like, those of you that, I don't know if you know about the personal year, but the personal year has a lot to do with where a lot of us are currently on our journey. But my personal year has a lot to do with relationships, with what is important for me for longevity. When you have, people in your life, you have to see the significance of, with a child, with, a partner, or people, whether you're whether you have co-created with this person, whether you're deciding whether to um, stay together, and or learn how to navigate around the fact of like, are you gonna really focus on being with yourself? Are you really gonna focus on balancing out the relationships um, that really deciding, do I really want to? Does this no longer serve me, or letting this go? Do I really want to just let this friendship, this whatever it is, then now to rebuild it? So it's a lot, again, with my own experience that um, it's scary. It's scary, but I don't fear it. The scary part is, like, again, it's like the unknown. Like, you don't know how the tree or the flower or something is going to blossom. You don't know the duration. You don't know the years. You don't know the process of that. And even more importantly, you don't know what that tree or whatever it is, that environment, how is it getting nourished? Is what type of what type of, not only environment, but what type of experience is having, or what have it experienced to even get to that. So um, again, where I'm at, for me, my relationship, a lot of this has shown me my worth. So most importantly, a lot of things has really highlighted on um, self-worth and self-value, has highlighted where my relationship stands with people. Like, can I see longevity in this? Do I need to entertain this? Am I being watered from this relationship? Um, is there reciprocation? Do we have the same core values? And, this is very vital, especially for those who have kids and those who are ending certain partnerships or relationships. And that don't just mean with people. That means like old patterns, old habits of, what you've experienced, you know, letting go of those relationships. Because a lot of that, when you're evolving and growing, I became aware of this, is like that old version of yourself is connected to those very people, those environments, and so forth. So when you're willing to evolve, a lot of people's shadows, a lot of things will come up. You will see where the foundation was in. Like, that's where the shadows will come up around it. Whether, let's say, you could have met this person it could have been a one night stand. Let's just be real, but with that, it's like that was the foundation of it. We ask ourselves, like, was the foundation built upon friendship? Was it built upon communication? Certain things that, we didn't really acknowledge then, but we see the importance in now. As you come into this, knowing your self-value and, your self-worth, and seeing where your value lies, and seeing the importance of how you have enabled or initiated certain relationships, and um, and being worthy of something more grander, or something that's really going to enhance, or enhance your life. And so that's that. Who for me is, I didn't ever, from being in those stages where I felt like a lot of relationships were more important than my own, it kept me in that cycle of looping through a lot of trauma and wounding, because I couldn't, at that moment, I didn't know where to find solutions, until I realized, like, I had the solutions, until I realized, like, the only way I was going to get through this if I find a solution. And then, surround myself with people who are solution based, who prioritize things that reflect a core value of integrity or authenticity, and truth, love, things that hold some type of substance and value. So with that, again, I had to go through the process of seeing the opposite of that, seeing the 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 filtered version of it to the unfiltered. Like, really seeing the rawness in a lot of how um how, again, I also was like lying to myself. I'm like, yo, how long am I gonna keep this going? How long am I gonna sit back and be like, this is what it is? This is the all be all. How long are you gonna sit back and realize this is the all be all? That has a lot to do with reflecting your self worth, and it becomes very uncomfortable because you got to navigate through the anger, the frustration. Okay, tell them. Okay, tell them then. But it's a process of navigating through things that you can't just throw away or push to the side anymore. It really, that healing journey, man, it really make you face some things that you cannot ignore or skip across or exempt from. So, a lot, just trying to get through a lot of these memories really came up when I parted ways, when I moved away from these environments where these energies still resonated. Hey, man, don't you see me talking? It's Blue Jay or something. Don't you see? Okay. Trying to deliver a message. I guess he want to deliver it with me. But a lot, but a lot of these, what I was expressing to someone is that what makes the healing journey a lifelong experience has a lot to do with, it doesn't just end when you walk away, when you just move away. I was expressing to someone like, when I seen some things that they were going through, it reminded me of where I am and how I progress in my own growth. That's the beauty of the journey in itself. That's the reward in it, is that when you're able to have the awareness that wherever you are, and when you can really see people wherever they are and not judge them, that's a beautiful growth. And what I mean by that is, like, we can be in a position where sometimes we have something, money or something or whatever, and sometimes subconsciously due to our programming, we can be like, oh, look at them, and I can't believe they need to do this and do that, and just basically come from an ego or judgmental place. Is he getting closer? Oh, you calling another one? Are y'all mating or something? He don't call this. Oh my God. This is hilarious. But anywho, so getting back to that, because I'm still going to get through this. Y'all just going to have to hear the birds. Just a messenger. Birds are messengers, they say, but so moving away from places, those memories still are there. Those subconscious fears, those things still come up. They can be haunting. They can haunt you. Like, even when you're out of it. Yo, this bird really came to the end of the tree. Right here. You called another bird? It's like loud and clear. Like I'm saying, those memories still can come up. Those things that, we thought we moved away years ago or so forth, they call it karma, but sometimes that energy has a way of returning itself through something to where you can clear it. So when I finally moved away from a place where I got spiders crawling up, I got birds chirping. When I finally moved away from I've been away from family before, but this time is different, to where I got away, and it's about staying away now. And it's not just, because I don't know the duration when it comes to the healing that I have to get through. So that being said, a lot of things that I told myself, I'm like, I'm going to give myself permission and grace to allow myself to get through these emotions. Whatever comes up, I'm going to honor it. And that can be from a mental space, emotional, spiritual, all the way to the physical aspect. So for me, when I moved away, what made this different is because I saw things come full circle. I saw the growth emotionally. I saw the things that I realized that had me really reflecting on where I was and where I was going. So, it really, as I got away from people, energetically, I started to pull away. But then the memories came up of what I experienced with that person from childhood to present. So, before I had got out of like moving away from my hometown or really getting at a place to where I can sit now with my emotions and memories and so forth. A lot of rage, a lot of things came up because memories came up from childhood. Things came up that I thought or assumed that, or I thought I put that to rest and so forth. And this is what has been displayed through my artistry, like over time, where certain environments are called for a different version of ourselves. Certain environments called forth a different version of me. I was in a different energy. I was at a different awareness mentally, emotionally, and so forth. So then that's when I began to realize, like, hey, am I going to allow these circumstances to consume me, or am I going to continue moving forward? Am I going to be able to see the growth? Am I going to be able to be grateful for what is unfolding? And so it doesn't matter where you move and so forth. There are still going to be things that, whatever relationships, whatever the foundations you have, there are still going to be things that can be haunting, that can be it seems like a setback, because I felt that way. I felt that way with certain memories, certain things come in and I'm experiencing, some type of depression, or these repressed emotions come up and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I have to constantly remind myself, like, okay, I've gotten through this before. Okay, let me allow this to come up. Okay, so it's all about how I respond from it. That's the greatest lesson in life. Is like how we really respond from what we have experienced. I know it's easily said and done, but this is why I bring it forth to you all, because I don't know how I got here. And I'm saying that jokingly, but at the same moment, when I see certain patterns, as I begin to change my behavior patterns, I start to realize, like, wow, when I look at my natural abilities, when I look at the things that really came natural to me to flow, was my writing, was my artistry, was my speaking, and gradually this has happened through growth. It's like, it's not, my childhood, I naturally did it, but it's like a returning. It's like a, things resurface in a way so you can see, like, it's like hidden treasures that's in the heart, like in the body, like blockages. So these emotions are guides to you unblocking versions of yourself. You unblocking the hidden treasures. Like, oh my gosh, that pain isn't just pain, it's a treasure. It's a treasure for me to unlock. So let me sit here and see, what could I do with this? Okay, let me see, how could I alchemize? And that's what I've done. Let me see, how can I alchemize or transmute or whatever it is, this into speaking, this into artistry, writing, and so forth. How could I tell my story or rewrite it? And rewriting it can be through whatever that expression may be. That's what makes it so amazing. That's what makes us so unique in our own ways, that no one can do what you're doing. And that's what I realized. No one can verbally say what I'm saying, the way I do it. The gestures and so forth. When it comes to my creation, I used to beat myself up in a way to where I wanted, there's a lot of self-doubt comes through the transition, or the, transformation, or being reborn from your emotions and from yourself. I was like, oh my gosh, like, does anybody gonna care about this? But I had to get to that place where I had to realize the intentions that I was setting behind what I was creating. That means it's like I remember there was a point in my life recently where I did 20, 30 masterpieces within months. And some of you know, like, and I put this on a platform, and then I put the pricing and so forth. But then I started to reflect on a lot of it. I was like, who was I doing it for? Why was I doing it? Was I doing it because of the money? There was a lot of things centered around to where I am today, where I see now, it's not that it didn't serve its purpose, because there was still love, emotions, all types of things that went into those masterpieces. There was still energy. There was still a lot of effort and consistency that went into creating a platform. what I reflected on, I was like, what makes my masterpiece now, what you've seen with the Lotus, has a lot to do with my redefining who I am. And so that Lotus symbolizes all of those things that I went through to get to where I am now. The art, the abuse, the emotion, neglect, abandonment, the relationships, the physical abuse, the emotional abandonment, everything to creating that masterpiece that, again, we don't see on the surface until we actually express it through our natural abilities, our natural gifts. And those are the things where I realized that I had to learn what came effortless to me. What comes effortless? Speaking. And that's because, again, I had to recognize my blockages. I had to recognize, like, again, the hidden treasures that lied within me, not externally, the things that lie within us. I had to realize, like, okay, what am I giving my power so much over to? What am I doing? And so I became more self-aware, like, to go at my own pace. There was a moment, a lot of us can relate, that we were going at this rhythm, or this out of synchronization or out of rhythm with ourselves, because we were so consumed or distracted by societally, or the world, or what it is to be a man, or what it is to be a woman, what it is to even be a little girl or a little boy, what it is to even be successful. All these different things that really kept us from our own pace, our own rhythm. And I can honestly say now where I'm at is like I'm at that rhythm again. So that little boy that's displayed on my masterpiece reflects the fact of, like, oh my gosh, I'm watering, or have been watering, those versions of me that I neglected, that others neglected in my childhood. So now I have the opportunity to water myself, to water those parts of me that I would no longer neglect. And then in that, then I will know and attract and be in alignment with those who reflect those core values. I'll be able to discern who doesn't. I'll be able to let go effortlessly without attachment. And so, again, this has been a process. This wasn't always like this. I'm able now to cherish the lotus, like the petals, you know, you can say the imperfection, the what is it? The imperfectly perfected aspect of who I am, or even just the fact of, like, I've always been perfect in the eyes of the Creator. And I don't mean in a profession, like in a obsessive type of way when it comes to doing things. It's more so like the awareness around, like, seeing the beauty in the curves, in the dimensions, in the little simplest things when it comes to artistry. There was a point in my journey where I used to criticize, beat myself up over those things. Be concerned that someone's gonna like this. I need to like it first. I need to accept it first. So again, when I went through that part of placing those masterpieces up there and just seeing the limitations on even how you can price something, then maybe I felt worthy of more. But then they had a limitation where you only put a certain number. I was just like, and I knew, because I couldn't lie to myself about, like, but I'm going to still keep it up there. Then I went through that whole process. I don't even know if I discussed this on the video, but I went through that whole process for months. Then misplacing a card. Then I had to get another card, and come to find out, if anyone would have purchased anything on that account, I wouldn't even have had access, because the old card I had threw away, and I didn't know the the numbers on the back to even get access to it again. So it was all orchestrated. But what I give gratitude is that I had the consistency to create the masterpieces through the turmoil, through everything I was going through. Then to see, put it all on there, and then give it to the world, share it, whatever. But for me, I realized, I was just telling myself, like, that was success. That was a huge accomplishment. It's like the little things that we ignore, we don't realize, like, are a simple accomplishment. Me getting up and having the courage to go on a walk with myself. And then to find peace in the storm or whatever I'm going through. That's an accomplishment. That's success. To even get through what you're getting through and have gotten through. That's success. Not what the world has tried to tell us what success is. You successfully, you know, breaking free from the constraints of societal norms or what mom and dad, all these expectations of you. You successfully endured that. You successfully got out of that. You successfully chose to not walk the path of other people. You successfully got up and chose to be who you are. That's successful. To have consistency and to have courage to be you is success. That's what success is. The definition of like literally walking in integrity and to build a platform, a foundation, a community or whatever it is, just starting with you first and then to be able to project that or create that outwardly, you have a lot to celebrate. I tell myself that I had to remind myself I have a lot to celebrate, to see how I know people who suffer from mental disorders. I know people who suffer from the fact of they don't see beyond their circumstances, and that's the mental illness in that. And knowing that you cannot change it, knowing that you can't fight their battle, you still successfully planted a seed by saying, this too shall pass or you'll get through it. It's the simplest things that we can be grateful for. And I told myself, I was like, one of the most challenging things for a lot of us as men that it's not spoken about is how it is we're trying, doing our best to redefine ourselves in these moments. And women too. When you're seeing the whole world as you knew it crumble. And to get up daily, to even show up as yourself, as a mother, to have this resilience, to have this consistency, to still show up at your position, whatever it is. That's success. And I don't mean from the money that you're receiving. I don't mean from the recognition and stuff. No, the success is simply being who you are. Everyone's on a different journey. When I've seen breaking generational curses, like the success is for me as a man that represent the patriarchal in my lineage, to successfully have a sound mind, to have found peace, to can be able to create, get up and have a peace of mind or have a sense of awareness of to have a healthy body, a mindset, to have a healthy outlook on life. That's success. Because outside of what people are parading on social media and so forth, you don't know anything about what they're going through. And that's the mask. That's the lies that they tell themselves. And for me, I had to face the reality of that. I had to tell myself, like, I am going to be the one that changes this narrative when it comes to the men in my family. Where's the respect and accolades or recognition for that? Men who actually want to create, and it ain't just a positive change, it's that men who truly walk in integrity, who can voice their truth about what it is they've done and how it is they want to be able to leave a legacy, not just with their own kids, but other kids, to be able to broadcast and say, hey, my shit stank too. But at the same moment, that same poop, I allow myself to grow from. I allow what people said, I allow these things to create a garden of a more holistic approach. Where's the clap for that? Where's the success? And I'm not saying I'm looking for it. I'm just saying, where's the clapping in that? There's a difference between the quantity of what people have, whether they have a large quantity of money. But when we're talking about the quality of people, When we really get down to integrity and equality, what are you really, you know, giving your attention to or paying attention to, giving your energy to? When you talk about the quality of people, the depths of who they are, the quality. When we talk about a product or, being a product of your environment, what about the quality? Where's the quality anymore? I've seen a lot being focused on the quantity of what they can consume or what they can um, gather up so much of. But where's the quality in it? Because someone who has quality or really knows who walks that path for certain things, it's more than, they realize that they have something no one else has. And it doesn't matter how many, they know that within themselves that that quality of who they are withstands or has more substance, is more abundant than the quantity that is spread out into the world, into the environments. That's why it's so vital to know who you are, the quality you have, the integrity, the value, because your soul cannot be bought. The essence of who you are, those that really know, the essence of who you are cannot be bought with a price. Not when you know that you are abundant and in an infinite process of, this how it is divinely orchestrated. You can't what? Quality. So I feel like that's where the shift is happening. Where you have seen this, me speaking about what I've experienced, I can realize, like, I give y'all this analogy before I go. It's like when you look at clothing and, you know, and it's not about like the brand of something, something that represents yourself. Now, if you're representing yourself, the quality of what you're giving out into the world or what you're expressing, do you know the value of it rather than just how much you want to give it out? That meaning like the attention to things. So if you don't see the attention to detail in every part of your life, then the quality won't mean nothing to you. You'll keep just giving, giving, giving of yourself. But those that know the quality of things, the stitching, the intention behind every stitch of that clothing, the intention behind everything that they do, it don't matter how much quantity or how much they have of it. The quality of it speaks for itself. And that's what energy is. That's when you're talking about it's in you, not on you. Quality will show you like, that's valuable right there. Then people realize you can't play with me. You can't come over here playing. Now I went through experiences. These bugs this time out. The experience where I did not recognize those things, and that's the beauty of worth, self-worth, and then protecting those creations, or because of the intention behind it. And that's how you got to be with your life, your essence, yourself, and your descendants, and so forth. Everything that's connected to you. So, because that's how the Most High, the Creator, is really about all of us. We're all valuable. We all have purpose. So when it really comes to, you knowing or we knowing and seeing what we went through, who do we blame? Until we really see the importance of now, the intention behind what it is that we're doing and what we're offering. So then that's why I'm able to sit back and see the greed or just a lot of things when it comes to what's being exposed and so forth, just everything in these moments. And I'm like, wow, there's really no quality to a lot of things. There's no integrity behind a lot of shit. There's no intention behind it. And if the intentions, there's not pure intentions behind it. There's not no good intentions behind a lot of stuff. And that's why it's like seeing stuff that's being broadcast or exposed right now is because the intention behind it was never for to prosper in that way. There was never good intentions behind it. So, you know, so I'm gonna leave y'all with. I gotta go because they buzz telling me, tearing me up. Peace and blessing. Shalom.